The Haunted Library. Once upon a time in the small, quiet town of Ravensbrook, there stood an old library at the edge of the woods. It was a grand building with towering shelves and ancient, dusty books that seemed to hold secrets of their own. The library had been closed for years after strange events began to occur. Locals spoke in hushed tones about the eerie happenings that drove everyone away. One foggy evening, a curious teenager named Lily decided to explore the library armed with only a flashlight and a sense of adventure. She slipped through a broken window and into the darkness of the forgotten building. The moment Lily stepped inside, she felt a chill run down her spine. The air was heavy with dust, and the silence was almost deafening. She shone her flashlight around and saw cobwebs draping over the once beautiful wooden shelves. Her heart pounded with both fear and excitement. As Lily wandered through the maze of bookshelves, she noticed that some books seemed to have been pulled out of their places. She approached a large, leather-bound tome lying open on a dusty table. The pages were yellowed and brittle, but one thing was peculiar. The text was written in a language she didn't recognize. Suddenly, the library's old grandfather clock struck midnight, its chimes echoing through the stillness. Lily's flashlight flickered, and she heard a soft whispering that seemed to come from the walls. Her breath caught in her throat as she turned around to find a shadow moving across the room. Her flashlight beam landed on a portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. The portrait was of a stern-looking woman with piercing eyes. Lily felt as if the eyes were following her every move. The whispering grew louder and more insistent, and Lily saw that the books on the shelves began to shift as if something was moving behind them. Panicking, Lily hurried through the aisles, her flashlight barely illuminating the way. She found herself in the library's old reading room, where a large, dusty armchair sat in the center. The armchair creaked as though someone had just stood up from it. Lily's eyes widened in horror as she saw a faint figure of a woman in old-fashioned clothing standing by the chair. The figure's face was obscured by shadows, but Lily could make out a mournful expression. The whispering grew into a low, mournful wail. Lily tried to flee, but the door she had entered through slammed shut with a loud bang. She was trapped. The figure in the chair began to move towards her, its ghostly form drifting over the floor. Desperate, Lily grabbed a nearby book and threw it at the ghostly figure. To her astonishment, the figure seemed to waver and then fade away. The room fell silent once more, and Lily's flashlight flickered back to life. She could see the door was now slightly ajar. With trembling hands, Lily dashed out of the library and didn't stop running until she was safely back home the next day. She returned to the library with her friends, and they found the library locked and abandoned as before. The mysterious book she had thrown was nowhere to be found, and no one had seen the ghostly figure since. With trembling hands, Lily dashed out of the library and didn't stop running until she was safely back home the next day. She returned to the library with her friends, and they found the library locked and abandoned as before. The mysterious book she had thrown was nowhere to be found, and no one had seen the ghostly figure since. From that night on, Lily and her friends never spoke of their encounter, but the library remained a place of whispered legends. People continued to say that the library was haunted by a sorrowful spirit, forever searching for something lost in the pages of time. And so the library stood at the edge of the woods, a place where the past and the present seemed to merge in the whispers of the wind and the shadows that danced just beyond the edge of light. The end.